Hey guys, Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. It is mid-December 2019 and this is our 8,600 round update on the Tisas Regent BR9 high power clone pistol. This is the one that we've now fired 8,600 times. It was included, if you've not seen it, in our 6,000 round test that we did, and this was summer 18 months ago, July 2018, and we were outside, and no sleeves on the shirts and 95-degree heat, and we shot usually 250 rounds through this Tisas, and never got complete reliability until about 5,800 rounds. We installed an FN barrel, and then later we installed the BHSpringSolutions advanced barrel for high power pistols. And since 5,800 rounds until now 8,600 rounds, no malfunctions, no stoppages of any kind. And this is with something north of a dozen different kinds of ammunition, the hardest kind to feed that you can get, and everything has functioned perfectly. So that's the good news. At 8,600 rounds, the essential reliability parts, by the way, for Tisas owners, this is step one in a new Tisas pistol's transformation to reliability and high performance. The Tisas Essential Reliability Kit comes with replacement extractor spring, extractor pin, sear lever pin, sear pin, heavy firing pin spring, and a firing pin retaining plate, and the springs from BHSpringSolutions and the parts from FN and Browning for their high powers. And so this is step one. All of these components have been in this Tisas since the start, with the exception of the extractor. It went in at about 400 rounds, so it's got about 8,200 rounds on it. The Browning extractor does. Still in great shape, still passing all the tests. It's got good secure hold on the cartridge casing. Since about 4,100 rounds, the FN Browning firing pin retaining plate has been in the Tisas since that fractured around that number, 4,100, 4,200 rounds. So we've got 4,300, 4,400 rounds on the Browning firing pin retaining plate. It's in good shape. The SFS system, or fast safety system, that's the system that allows you to carry hammer forward. You pull the safety off, the hammer cocks, you put it on safe, you carry with hammer forward. That system has been in here since the start of our testing. It has 8,600 rounds on it, shows no wear of any of the parts of the SFS system. So that's been a real eye-opener for us, because we never tested the SFS system this intensely for this long, purposely looking at parts after they've gone a few thousand rounds, and now 8,600 rounds. The BHSpringSolutions springs, you should consider that kind of step two in the transformation to reliability of the Tisas Regent BR9. We have those in this Tisas for 8,600 rounds. They all remain in good serviceable condition, and we're going to continue testing with them. So that's been a great proving moment for BHSpringSolutions optimized high power springs for the Tisas. And finally, I wanted to just update real quickly what we have started to see here as of mid-December 2019. We have seen an increase in the number of Tisas owners who are not getting reliability until they change out their barrel. And of course, after 5,800 rounds, we tested the Tisas barrel that came with our test Tisas, and found that the chamber was off 22 thousandths to the 10 o'clock position, and the crown was off 28 thousandths, enough to affect accuracy. And after we found that out, we replaced the barrel, and we've had no further stoppages or malfunctions of any kind for 2,800 rounds. So that's the good news. But what we have seen an uptick, or seen an increase, it seems, is the number of Tisas owners who are having a similar kind of experience. In other words, they're doing the essential reliability kit, they're doing the springs, some of them are doing SFS, some of them are not, and they're not getting reliability. And they're talking, 5 to 10% fail to extract numbers. So we had one come back, a local friend of ours, a BH veteran, who had his Tisas serviced at our service center back in August, and he had been to the range a couple of times, had not had good reliability. He brought it back. It passed all the tests with the exception of one. And we recently released a video called the 10 components and 11 causative factors of failures to extract in the high power pistol. And we went through and we eliminated 9 components and 10 causative factors. The only one left was the barrel. Before we fired, we did some dry cycling of ammunition kind of slowly through the Tisas barrel. We had a couple of fails to feed. Now, a fail to feed in dry cycling, now of course this was in a controlled environment and done completely safely, but a fail to feed into a barrel, you can assume that something that's difficult to feed into is going to be difficult to extract out of, and these two things kind of go together. In other words, a chamber that is not centered where it needs to be, or a chamber that's too tight on the cartridge casing, or whatever the reason is, they don't come out any easier than they go in. And frankly, they have a lot more encouragement from the slide and the recoil spring to chamber than the encouragement that they have to extract and eject, because the extractor claws are small, and the force of the forward force of the slide and recoil spring is pretty robust. And so a fail to feed manually cycling kind of gave us a tip off that possibly we had a barrel issue with this Tisas, and that was hindering reliability. We went to the range and we fired a 15-round magazine and no problems, and this was with the Tisas OEM barrel. And we got 5 rounds into the second magazine, and it left the cartridge casing in the chamber. And the cartridge casing was even kind of marked up pretty good by the extractor, like being pulled or forced back over the cartridge casing to leave it in the chamber. So that was a tip off that when this barrel started getting hot, it was having some problems for the firearm to extract. So we put in a BHSpringSolutions advanced barrel, and we had no further malfunctions and no further stoppages with the rest of the ammunition that we shot. So that was one of 4 in 24 hours earlier this week. Tisas owners experiencing in essence the same thing, and that is, I've done everything except the barrel. And if you've watched our video, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, or you're a hobbyist or a gunsmith, if you've watched our video, the 10 components and 11 causative factors of fails to extract in the high power pistol, and you've eliminated 9 components and 10 causative factors, you can assume it is the barrel. And one of the things that we've learned from this, and we're going to do in enhancing our service in our service department on the Tisas high powers, is we are now going to provide, our service fee is going to go up just a little bit to cover this, but we are going to provide testing that is going to be up to or exceed 100 rounds through the Tisas before we release it and send it back to the owner. The reason for that is because what we found is, normally you think, I shoot a magazine, 2 magazines through something, and there's no malfunctions and I'm good to go. And that is not the nature of these fails that we're seeing with the Tisas barrels. These do not become a problem until the barrel gets heated up, until the barrel gets hot. In our testing of this Tisas with the OEM barrel, sometimes we got above 50 rounds, sometimes we got 100 rounds, function perfect. And then we got into the second 100 rounds and we started having these hiccups. Sometimes we didn't, get 100 rounds through. Generally speaking, though, what we're seeing lately is fails with the OEM Tisas barrels that don't involve getting into really high heat ranges. This is just getting, for example, at the range this past Monday, It just involved 25 rounds, and it happened. And we changed out the barrel, and it never happened again. One other quick thing, though, that we did pick up on this high power that came back to us this week is it had a fail to fire, what would be considered a light primer strike. And we further investigated that, and the tip or the business part of that firing pin, the Tisas OEM firing pin, and this is a rather recent purchase this year, like this summer, by this customer of ours. And when you compared it to an FN or Browning firing pin, the bluntness or the diameter was visually broader on the Tisas firing pin, which would mean a blunter hit on the primer of the cartridge that it's trying to fire. On the second hammer strike on that round, it did fire. But this is something we've not picked up on before. The firing pin in this Tisas that we've tested with, 8,600 rounds on the OEM firing pin, no problem. We didn't really expect to find what we found. We did not need a caliper or a magnifier or anything to see that the business part of this firing pin that needs to impact the primer properly to make it fire, it was just bigger and broader on the Tisas firing pin. So we replaced that out with the Browning firing pin. We think everything's going to be fine there. But this is kind of a new discovery. We've never advocated replacement of firing pins before. We think it was essential in this particular instance. The recoil reducing dual stage buffering guide rod from BHSpringSolutions, we now have that in the Tisas. And it makes it even more of a pleasure to shoot. So these are the things that we've noticed recently. We have a lot of Tisas high powers coming through our service center. We appreciate that very much. It's territory we've become very, very familiar with, and we are thinking we're doing the right thing now by requiring every Tisas that leaves our service center to pass a 100 round function test. We think it's the right thing to do, and we think it's going to give our owners of the Tisas BR9, give them a lot more confidence and a lot more peace of mind with their Tisas. So anyway, thank you folks for watching. Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions.com.